Hello and welcome to Amboise, one of the Loire Valley's most interesting Renaissance towns. It might not be as famous as some of the other chateaus you'll visit during your stay in the area, but it is a royal chateau, it has medieval lanes, it was Leonardo da Vinci's final home. It contains places that shaped Francis I, the King of France's rise. If you love art, history, and great views, you're in the right place. With me, the Armchair Traveler, as your guide. Like so many other areas that we've visited here in France, Amboise began as a Roman river port named Amboise. The islands in the river made this bend a perfect crossing point. Control the ford, control the wealth. By the 1400s, Amboise became a royal fortress, and soon after, the Renaissance arrived, carried here by kings, architects, and eventually Leonardo da Vinci. The 1,000-foot-long General Leclerc Bridge connects Amboise on either side of the river through Golden Island. During the Roman occupation period, this island would have been an essential site for trade and transportation along the river, likely bustling with Roman ships and merchants even before permanent structures like bridges were built. When the need for a bridge arose, the island almost certainly served as a pier, just as it does today. The bridge is named after General Philippe Leclerc, a celebrated French military leader during World War II, known for his crucial role in liberating France from the Germans. After the war, Leclerc continued to serve France in various capacities, including as commander of French forces in Germany. His career was cut short when he died in a plane crash in 1960, while on a diplomatic mission in Africa, leaving behind a lasting military legacy. The bridge, which opened in 2002, honors his contributions to France's liberation and modern France. Sitting in the middle of the river is the Golden Island. This is primarily a park today with lots of parking lots, hiking trails, and playgrounds. It likely served as an important site for the Romans when they initially settled the area before they moved uphill. While the island's shape has changed over time, it undoubtedly played a significant role as part of a bustling river port during the Roman era. There's an odd statue here that's labeled Leonardo da Vinci. Having a statue depicting the master here makes a lot of sense. After all, he spent the end of his life here in the city. The labeling and the art don't make a lot of sense, at least not to me. What we see is a man leaning on the head of the Medusa. The male figure looks a lot more like some kind of Greek god than anything else and doesn't resemble any image I've ever seen of the master unless you count the beard. I tried digging into this, and except for enlarging the photo and reading the name of the artist, I came up dry. In the mid-19th century, France still held a substantial colonial empire that stretched from Southeast Asia to Africa. I believe in reading the information attached to memorials when I travel, as they often honor significant figures. In Amboise, there are 3 memorials to Emir Abdelkader, a pivotal figure in Algerian and French history. In the mid-1800s, he led a resistance movement against French occupation and became a symbol of Algeria's fight for independence. He was captured by the French in 1847 and imprisoned here in Amboise, along with some of his followers and part of his family. Despite the mistreatment, he maintained a humanist perspective and showed remarkable integrity. After 5 years, Napoleon III released him in 1852, a decision that reflected politics, diplomacy, and actual respect toward him and the Muslim world. The next year, a Muslim cenotaph was erected in Amboise, shown here, for the 25 of his followers, including his wife, who died mostly of neglect while in French captivity. Abdelkader moved first to Marseille and later to Damascus, where his commitment to human rights earned him global admiration. He intervened to save the Christian community in 1860 in Damascus and won numerous honors, including the French Legion of Honor. After he was released from imprisonment, Algeria remained under French colonial rule, intensifying the struggle over time for autonomy that eventually led to the Algerian War of Independence that began in late 1954. This conflict underscored Abdelkader's legacy and shaped Algeria's national identity, ending in independence, but not until March 1962. The war sparked intense political debate in France, which continues to this day. Reconciliation after a war is a slow process. In 2005, The Jardin d'Orient was created in the Chateau d'Amboise to honor Abdelkader's followers. More recently, in 2022, a modern steel and glass portrait was installed on the Loire Promenade, symbolizing the themes of captivity and freedom. Unfortunately, the monument was badly damaged by vandals, although it has since been restored. The first fortress was built here sometime in the 900s, but the Golden Age came much later, with Anne of Brittany and her two husbands, King Charles VIII and King Louis XII, and her son-in-law, King Francis I. You can learn more about Francis and the rest of these characters in my Armchair Traveler Investigates episode. The link will be at the end of the video. Each of the kings and the queen left his mark on the site, rebuilding and enhancing it and turning it from a rather grim fortress into a Renaissance palace filled with Italian ideas, arches, terraces, gardens, and a sense of artistic ambition that would define their reigns. Fortresses are built to convey strength, signaling that their master is formidable and not to be trifled with. However, over time, the need for comfort and luxury emerged, prompting the owners to develop homes that dazzled visitors with art and design rather than weapons and soldiers. During my visit, much of the palace's interior remained shrouded in mystery, as it had suffered significant damage during World War II. The French government and local residents prioritized their immediate needs over restoring the ruins, but gradually they recognized that once basic concerns were met, they could begin to reclaim their historical legacy. The ambition to leave a mark on history predates Anne and Charles. The Grand Council Hall in Amboise was commissioned by Louis XI, Charles's father and Anne's father-in-law, known as the Spider King. Built in the 15th century, the hall served as a setting for pivotal meetings in his administration, reflecting his astute political strategies and maneuvering. The terraces and gardens of Amboise also stand out as some of the earliest Renaissance gardens in France, designed by an Italian architect named Pacello de Mercogliano, who also designed the gardens for notable sites like the Chateau Gaillard, which we'll visit in a few minutes, and the Chateau of Blois. Renaissance gardens like these set the stage for the gardens in Versailles, which evolved from these early designs into far more ambitious and extensive expressions of landscape architecture. Saint Hubert, also known as the patron saint of hunters, was apparently a real person who lived in the 7th century in what is now Belgium. He came from a noble family and initially lived a life of wealth and privilege, enjoying the hunt and all that came along with it. However, his life took a dramatic turn following an encounter with a stag, shown here, which is said to have had a glowing crucifix between its antlers. This experience inspired Hubert to convert to Christianity, to clean up his act generally, and to dedicate his life to faith and service. After his conversion, Hubert became a bishop and devoted himself to spreading the teachings of Christ. He established several monasteries, including one named after him, and emphasized a life of prayer, community, and care for nature. In Amboise, the chapel dedicated to St. Hubert reflects his life and legacy. It was built in the 15th century and sits here on the grounds of the chateau. It's a beautiful blend of Gothic architecture and Renaissance style, adorned with stunning stained glass windows and quite a few statues that depict scenes from Hubert's life. The space not only honors the saint, but holds the tomb, or so they say, of Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo's original burial site was lost, and his remains, or someone's, were moved here in the 1800s. Whether this is really the master's tomb or not, the chapel is a place for reflection for visitors from around the world. Just below the chateau sits the Clos Lucé, a French manor Francis I gifted to Leonardo when he came to stay here in Amboise. Leonardo spent his final 3 years here, designing machines, painting, advising on architecture, devising entertainments for the court. The building and gardens feature full-scale models of some of his inventions and turn the entire estate into a kind of living classroom. We're leaving the palace behind now, but we're not leaving the legacy of those famous French kings behind us. Just a short stroll away is the enchanting Chateau Gaillard. This charming retreat was built by King Francis I, a monarch known for his love of the arts and vibrant court life. But even though he loved vibrant court life, sometimes even Francis needed a getaway. The Chateau Gaillard served as a private escape from the demands of royal duties, a sanctuary where he could momentarily free himself from the rigid etiquette of the court and the endless intrigues of his advisors and the ladies of the court. Here he found solace in the beauty of nature and the company of close friends. It was a place where he could embrace a more relaxed lifestyle, though doubtless not as a commoner, and enjoy leisurely hours away from the grandeur of the palace. One of the remarkable features of the chateau is that this was France's first royal orangerie, a greenhouse designed to allow the cultivation of exotic fruits and plants that had only just begun to capture European noble attention. This innovative addition not only showcased Francis's passion for gardening and botany, but also symbolized the wealth and sophistication of the French crown. The orangery was a marvel of its time, representing the king's desire to bring a touch of the Mediterranean to his private retreat, allowing him to indulge in the pleasures of nature. When you explore the chateau, you can admire its architectural charm and the picturesque gardens, reflecting Renaissance ideas that Francis I so fervently embraced. The tranquil surroundings of the chateau allow us to imagine the king wandering these grounds, perhaps enjoying a moment of peace or hosting intimate gatherings with his most trusted friends. In many ways, Chateau Gaillard reveals a more personal side of a king, where laughter, art, and nature could mix freely. Even today, it reminds us of the balance between duty and leisure. As we leave this tranquil spot, we take away with us stories of a king, Francis I, who not only wanted to be powerful and respected and admired, but needed a refuge in beauty and simplicity. Before we wrap up our visit, there are two more gems I want to show you, starting with the clock tower, which was once the medieval gateway into the city. The tower was built between 1495 and 1500 and sits on top of an even older city gate that was called the Porte de la Masse. It was named for a small river that ran just outside the city walls. Originally, this served double duty, a lookout for the town and a belfry, with the bell cast around 1501. Later on, a clock was added, giving the tower the iconic feature we see today. Architecturally, it is quite striking. The base is square, with two main stories topped by a lantern-style belfry and a cylindrical stairway that leads to the top. You can still pass through the vaulted archway at the bottom of the tower, which was the old gate. Above, you'll see mullioned windows that light the floors, ending in a four-sided roof with a clock on each face. The bell rests in the lantern on top. Today, the clock tower is considered one of the symbols of Amboise' old town. When you walk down the main street, the Rue Nationale, which once must have held part of the old city walls, you pass right under it. It dominates the narrow medieval streets in the area and offers a vivid sense of the town's history and its former defenses. This lively stretch is fun to explore. Cobblestones underfoot, half-timbered buildings all around, cafés, boutique shops, and little hidden courtyards. None really terribly busy because this is one of the less visited sites in the area that pop up when you least expect them. It's a perfect spot to wander, to browse, or simply take a pause and soak up the atmosphere of old Amboise. The Church of Saint-Denis shows us how architectural styles can evolve very significantly over the construction and lifetime of a single building, and how those styles actually can blend together. Churches can take generations to build. This one was originally laid down in the 11th century and is dedicated to France's patron saint. It's a mix of Romanesque, Gothic, and Baroque styles, and despite how different they were, the styles all seem to merge together. Physically, the building is a compound of Romanesque and Gothic styles. The central nave and tower show us typical Romanesque features, rounded arches, thick walls, and very small windows, while the later Gothic additions, like the side aisle, give us angled buttresses and taller pointed windows. Inside gives us even more, with some drama coming from the art. This 16th century Entombment of Christ is a life-size carving of Jesus being laid in the tomb. It's Renaissance art at its finest, emotional, naturalistic, and so vivid the figures seem almost to step out of the shadows and want to touch you. Ahead of you, however, is the nave, the long main aisle leading in the general direction of the main altar. As you can see, it retains the robust Romanesque-style columns that were necessary to support the immense weight of the structure, along with the rounded arches, also typical of the Romanesque style. Just ahead, we jump out of Romanesque and Gothic architecture and leap to the Baroque high altar from the 17th century. This masterpiece is bold, ornate, almost gaudy in comparison with the much plainer nave, full of movement and light and shadow contrast, and a style that really grabs your attention. To the side of the altar is a statue of Saint-Denis, the man to whom the church was dedicated, carved by Gaspard de la Uniz in the early 17th century. It's dramatic, detailed, and a little gory, because, like many depictions of the saint, he's shown here carrying his own severed head, a reminder not just of his faith, but of his fate. Saint-Denis Church may be centuries old, but stepping inside, you can see how each generation left its mark, from Romanesque strength to Gothic elegance to Renaissance emotion, and then to Baroque drama. As we conclude our visit, let's take a minute to think about the journey we've taken together. For me, in real life, this excursion was a quick, less than half-day stopover on the way to someplace else from tour, hurriedly jammed between stops as I rushed through both the grounds and the palace. My lunch, a hastily consumed ham and butter sandwich from a local delicatessen, paired with warm water from my own water bottle. The experience was rather uninspiring. Looking back, I realize my approach left quite a bit to be desired on. Although I did achieve the main goal, which was to see the palace and the grounds, I overlooked almost everything else available in this town. While I was preparing this episode, I discovered just how much I had missed. Today, Amboise is a small town of around 13,000, which has a mixed economy where tourism is important but not dominant. The amazing chateau and the town's Renaissance roots and the people who lived here and made it what it is attract a steady stream of visitors that supports quaint restaurants, small hotels, and unique shops. However, compared to bustling nearby places like Tours, Blois, or Chenonceau, Amboise sees less traffic, allowing it to retain a certain amount of calm charm. Many locals here actually commute to larger towns for work, highlighting Amboise' position as a serene residential hub, one that can give a big clue to anyone who is willing to spend a little more time. If you approach it with a sense of leisure, Amboise could be a hidden gem. It's a place where the luxury lies not in the flashy sights, although there are some, but in the time you can spend exploring the streets, soaking up the ambience, and basically decompressing from the busier, more bustling spots nearby. I think the city would make a great spot for a home base in the area, a place where you could sally forth each day to visit the more famous, busier sites nearby, and then return to at the end of the day to kick back and relax. Either way will work, but when I return, I think I'll choose the lazier, longer plan. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of a remarkable town. If you enjoyed the journey, please remember to hit that like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts. Come back next time for another adventure with me, the Armchair Traveler, as we set off on another adventure together. Until then, à bientôt.